Down to 9 minutes and 51 seconds now. The advantage for Guillaume van Kiesbulk from the Wanty Group Air team, who attacked right at the very start of the stage today. He's been off the front now for more than 74 kilometres all by himself. 128 remaining. His lead at one point got out to just a smidgen over 13 minutes. It's now down inside 9 minutes and 50 seconds. As there are two teams on the front doing the chasing, Lotto Soudal for Andre Greipel, and another one of the big German favourites for today's stage. Amongst the chasers for Quick Step, they're looking after the interests of Marcel Kittel. The Chalet Saint-Germain, which we now get a chance to take a look down upon. The city of that name. The town itself, it sits at an altitude of just over 300 metres. It gets reasonably cold here in winter. They started the stage today in Luxembourg. They've now journeyed into France. The rest of the race now, it's in just the one country. It's in France from here all the way through until Paris. But over the past few days, it's been Germany, Belgium, Luxembourg. Finished on French soil yesterday, started on Luxembourg soil today. And at the start of the race, it was great to see Andy Schleck there with his young son wearing a yellow jersey. Julien Vermont on the front again. Yesterday,
not just riding tempo.
No, seriously chasing. Here's Geraint Thomas, another day in the yellow jersey. Will it be the same again tomorrow? It's the first big rendezvous with the mountains as the race heads to La Planche de Belleville tomorrow. Mikel Nieve, that is Mikel Landa, two of the Spanish riders on the team. And the two Belgians at the front, the red colours, Thomas again. And then Julien Vermont in the blue colours of Quick Step. They're doing an enormous job of the chase. Yesterday we saw Julien Vermont in the blue colours from Quick Step do so much of the work, just as he did on the previous day. But each time he stopped working at the front, he has completely let go of the peloton. Yesterday, once he stopped working, which was only within the final 20 kilometres or so, he ended up conceding 12.5 minutes to Peter Sagan at the end of the stage. So as soon as he stops working, it's his recovery, looking forward to the next day.
Well, he obviously took a little bit of extra recovery yesterday and did it very well. Have a look at the back of the peloton here. This is Simon Clark at the back, I think, from Canada. No, number
Talansky.
187 is Talansky. Similar build to Simon Clark. Just had to catch a glimpse of that number. But down the back, you can see the damage that's being done. Not that people are being dropped, but the pace being set by Decandon Vermont is, well, way above what you'd expect in the chase of one lone rider with 126 kilometres to go. And after having a gap over 13 minutes, he's now lost 4 minutes in the last 12 or 15 kilometres.
It shows how easy it is for that group to be able to contain one rider off the front on his own. It's only been in the last 20 minutes or so that we've seen Lotto Soudal and Quick Step come to the front to try and spoil the day for Guillaume van Kiesbulk. But they're really upping the tempo, and judging by Andrew Talansky at the rear end of the peloton, they are moving along at a rapid rate. I'd imagine at this point they just want to break the back of this advantage, and then they'll settle back down again once they know they've got him well and truly contained. He's the only rider on the Wanty Group Goubert team who's not wearing the bright yellow shoes and socks. He's gone conservative with white. First rider in the professional peloton to wear white shoes, Rolf Sorensen, one of your old teammates. And now, white is standard. Nobody wears black shoes anymore.
Not many, although the shoes I ride in now are black. My trusty Seedies that I've spent my whole career in.
Because you have to clean them yourself.
Yeah, I didn't want them to get dirty, so I chose black. Matte black.
Of course. Is there any other black?
A lot of white shoes amongst the Sky team. And a lot of red and orange among the Lotto boys. And now we've got everybody looking at shoes. Marcel Kittel, also in the white Seedies. And white socks, not green.
Yes.
So that's where the green stops. I've been looking at the full colour combo as we look here at La Maison de Robert Schumann.
Well, he was an important figure, actually, in the history of Europe. He was born Jean-Baptiste Nicolas Robert Schumann in 1886. He was German of birth, but his father, Jean-Pierre Schumann, was born in France, and they lived then in Luxembourg. So by the Treaty of Versailles, he was a French citizen. And then, having grown up in the Department of the Moselle, he went on to become a Minister for Finance, the President of the Council of Ministers, and then the Minister for Foreign Affairs. And throughout the combining of the European Union, the creation of it, he was one of the initial catalysts. And he played a big part in the forming of a deal between France and Germany on the industrial front. And that was after the Second World War, to bring them together on the production of coal and steel. And that was then the lead to what they created, the European Community of Coal and Steel, and that then spearheaded to what we now know as the present European Union, which is why that house is so significant.
Quite a significant region within itself, as we spoke about earlier, the race going through the town of Schengen and the Schengen Agreement, which led to the almost abolishing of borders within the 26 countries, a group of countries making up that agreement, signing that agreement. So you had no visas required to travel between those countries. So, as you've just alluded to, the European Union, the formation thereof, a lot of the agreements made that led to that happened in this region. Andre Greipel sporting the black aero helmet today. This is Matteo Trentin.
And Matteo Trentin, he was so good on stage one in the individual time trial. I expected a bit more from him yesterday, but in the end he wasn't quite there, and it was his teammate Dan Martin who finished in third position. It was a bit of an embarrassment of riches yesterday for the Quick-Step team. We couldn't work out who the leader of that squad was going to be for the sprint finish, and it ended up being the non-sprinter effectively, with Dan Martin doing the job. Philippe Gilbert was in amongst the thick of the action, and he finished in 22nd position. But outside the top group of contenders, Trentin just lost contact, and so did Stibar. That highlights just how difficult that final approach to the finish line was.
Well, Matt, just a few moments ago, we were talking about the Euskaltel Euskadi team, which is no longer in existence, but famous for their bright orange kits. And it just reminded me of something where we're here in the Lorraine region, and it's, of course, famous for its quiche Lorraine. It's also famous for macaron, which I enjoyed for dessert last night at the Club Med here in Vittel. Beautiful old historic building. Loved the dessert. But going back to the orange, so here in the region, back in the day, a popular drink was tea with carrots.
Tea with carrots?
Tea with carrots. So there's a particular type of carrot, a very porous carrot, and people used to dip the carrot into the black tea, would soak up the tea, and that was their snack and drink at the same time. That's a real Lorraine traditional beverage. Would you like one?
Not right now. I'm too busy watching Richie Porte. 20th position overall, Richie Porte at 47 seconds down. That puts him 35 seconds behind the big race favourite, which is Chris Froome. Some good signs, though, yesterday from Richie Porte. So too BMC, they supported him well. The important thing yesterday for BMC was that the last rider that was left there with him wasn't Damiano Caruso. As they could see as they approached this roundabout, they were stuck on the left-hand side, which would have sent them the long way around and lost more ground. So they opted for a bunny hop instead. So good signs yesterday for Richie Porte as they come into the town of Pont-Mousson. And this chateau that we're now getting a chance to take a look down upon, it's a relatively recent addition to the town, having been founded in 1851. Or the Abbey, to be more precise. In fact, the original foundations go a lot further back than that. There was big renovations in the 1800s. It was originally founded in 1121, and it was a home of the religious and spiritual hub of Lorraine throughout that period early on. It's now a cultural centre, and it is also the home of Lorraine Regional Tourism Committee. So it plays a pretty important part in the local tourism now, and no doubt they'd be happy to hear that you spoke about having the Lorraine cup of tea with a carrot, as opposed to just mentioning the quiche.
There's more than just quiche to Lorraine. Now, I'd like to just go back a few moments to the roundabout. So I've been asked the question, which way around the roundabout? Is it a team decision, or is it just follow the leader? Well, the thing to do when you come to the roundabouts is first look at the signage, the race signage, because it will often tell you if the roundabout can be passed on both sides or it must be on one side. Even then, they often have hay bales and one of the gendarmes directing to stay on one side or the other of the road. But when you're coming towards the roundabout, you're trying to have a look up the road and see which looks like being the best side, because often the roundabouts are a little bit offset. It's a bit longer around one side than it is around the other. So if you can see that one side looks a little bit straighter, that's the one you go for. Sometimes teams will just stick together no matter what. Whichever way the first guy goes, the rest will follow. The riders often try to look up and see which looks like being the most efficient way around. And further towards the finish, when it comes to the roundabouts, it's so important to get them right. Choose the wrong side, there goes 25 positions. You've just been fighting 5 kilometres to make up. The closer you get to the finish, the harder it is to make those positions up. So taking the correct side of the roundabout is essential. 100 metres now from the intermediate sprint. Van Kiersberger with 3 minutes and 5 seconds. So a comfortable winner taking the 20 points. Still riding at 48 kilometres an hour. So it's really not hanging around. But Van Kiersberg, okay, maybe come off a little downhill to reach nearly 50, but still look at that, still 46k an hour.
I don't care.
Yeah, it's whatever he's coming off, it's still impressive. And he's also going to take the small financial bonus on offer at the intermediate sprints, €1,000 or so. So that just goes into the team pot, but that's not what it's about. His first reward for his breakaway crosses the line, Guillaume Van Kiersberg.
He gets on the results sheet with points in the race for the green jersey. He collects 20. He also gets a small time bonus. This is the Chateau de Beauvais-Craon, and it's quite an impressive chateau, and it's got a really good story in the way it's been built. It was built back in the early part of the 1700s, but there's 365 windows, one for every day of the year. There are 52 fireplaces, one for each week. There's then 12 towers scattered all the way around it, one for each month, and 4 bridges across the moats, one for each season.
And 1 moat, one for each year. Anything that's got a moat around it has got my vote.
It's got you in already.
That is impressive.
It is. And now we're starting to see the teams of the sprinters lining themselves up at the front. They're not too far away from hitting that intermediate sprint. And Mark Cavendish has got the strongest contingent of teammates we've seen from Cavendish, from Dimension Data at this point, but it's the teammates of Michael Matthews who have come forward for Sunweb. Now it's Stybar for Quick-Step and looking after the green jersey.
Marcel Kittel lined up behind 2 of his teammates, FDJ behind them, but the train for Michael Matthews, they have come up the right-hand side of the road. Marcus Burkhardt there on the right of picture. He's trying to launch Peter Sagan up in amongst there. Sagan sitting a long way back at the moment. Marcel Kittel in third. He's now behind Fabio Sabatini up the middle. Colbrelli, he's coming on the right-hand side behind FDJ. Demar behind Colbrelli. Marcel Kittel, he now moves off his own teammate. He spots Colbrelli, but on the right-hand side, Bora Hansgrohe with Peter Sagan. Sat back, Demar goes.
Demar opens up, so too does Greipel on the right-hand side. Demar, the French national champion. It's Greipel, the world champion in the middle. Photo finish, Arnaud Demar.
Demar, Sagan, Greipel. Oh, Van Kiersberger now looking over the shoulder, waiting to see the peloton coming at him. There they are in the background. 10 seconds now the gap. More riders coming to the front. One of the Katusha riders just moving himself onto the front of the peloton. 17.2 kilometres to go. 190 kilometres covered of this stage, and all 190 have had Guillaume van Kiersbulk as leader of the race. Not quite done with yet, but let's call it 190.5 kilometres on the attack.
And he has felt every single metre. There'll be lots of pats on the back once he gets past the arrowhead of the peloton, a little bit further down. They'll be patting him on the back. Well done, Guillaume. A brave and brilliant performance. Not enough to win the stage, but you've had a big impact on the Tour de France. Now it's one of his compatriots, Thomas de Gens, on the front again.
The first man to start really chasing Van Kiersbulk after Sky rode a moderate tempo at the front. And you see the sign there, I am done.
Now the pushing and shoving gets underway.
Well, it really is not a wide road. So important to get in position early with your team, but important also not to put team members into the wind and start wasting energy now, because these roads are so fast, and this finale into the town of Vittel, very, very quick from 3 kilometres down to 2. Again, Katusha now at the front with multiple riders taking this left-hand turn. 16 kilometres to go. So starting to marshal the troops at the front. Numbers are going to be very, very important. And also, there could be a few lurking there that have heard about this little rise coming into town with about 4.7 kilometres to go.
This little stone marker off to the side of the road is the stone marker of the Oath of Coffre. And all the participants in the liberation of France, they left behind traces of their presence with statues, plaques and stone markers. And later, to show the respect for those that had gone before them, all these plaques were put up, and the first one that was established was at Utah Beach in Normandy.
And here is spring weather. It's better to use more energy and sit here in the slipstream, or just back off them, staying there for now. But it really is the battle for position up front, a really compact peloton. Now 14.5 kilometres to go. Movistar, they have taken up the front. One more rider from them, that's Daniele Benati, coming from the right around to the left-hand side of the peloton. And they're just keeping Nairo Quintana out of trouble behind Movistar. That's Lotto Soudal. Up on the right, Fortunato.
Ambitious Fortunato, the smallest team in the race, or the second smallest perhaps, behind Wanty Group Goubert, and they've got Dan McClay, who's just hoping for a clean run.
Well, we remember that YouTube footage we saw of Dan McClay winning the Grand Prix de Nantes last year, threading his way through the bunch from about 14th or 15th position with 150 metres to go. It was unbelievable to watch. Do yourself a favour and search for it and watch it. Today, a higher calibre of riders to take on at the finish, but his team certainly believe, and he's their best chance for a result. They're going to work as hard as they can. Here's the Bora team. Jay McCarthy doing his share of the work for Peter Sagan. Yesterday's win, giving them even more confidence if that's possible.
Geraint Thomas in yellow, followed by Chris Froome. Chavanel for Direct Energy, and now the pressure is on from Katusha.
And you can see how uphill this is. Everybody out of the saddle. There goes Van Kiersbulk. It's been a great day. We've seen plenty of him, but at the front of the race, that is where it's happening. Katusha taking control over the top of Cofidis. Team Sky with Kwiatkowski, Geraint Thomas behind him, Chris Froome. But Team Katusha, they're in control with Tony Martin. We've seen him do this so many times in other teams. Today is for Alexander Kristoff. Nasser Bouhanni, he is looking comfortable at the front of the bunch. Konovalovas, he's looking around for Arnaud Demar. Team Movistar with Quintana trying to bring him back up. And here comes Sunweb for Michael Matthews.
The road has opened up for Sunweb. For a long time, they were caught behind the Quick-Step team, and they moved over to the right of the road, which is exactly what the Quick-Step team has also done. And they are moving the green jersey forward, but he doesn't have the teammates immediately in front of him, and they are disorganised once again.
I think he had the teammates in front of him, but after that little rise, I don't think he had the legs at that time to follow and improve his position. He's made a big improve. He just needs to keep moving forward at the moment, or he's going to put himself out of it. Lotto Soudal now, Adam Hansen, he's starting the train for Andre Greipel.
The blue colours of Matteo Trentin, who just a moment ago was at the front, was looking around wondering where the green jersey was.
He went, someone's off the road into the grass.
Cold
from
rally.
Bahrain Merida.
Perhaps Konovalovas, the Lithuanian national champion. As we see Bernie Eisel at the front for Dimension Data. Mark Cavendish looks so calm, sitting a few wheels further back with the yellow jersey just behind him.
They're over the top of the final rise. Now it starts to dip down. It'll go downhill, get faster and faster, and they'll swing into a left-hand turn, which will bring them into the city limits of Vittel. It's now Dimension Data on the front for Mark Cavendish. The teammates looking behind. Coming up to that left-hand corner now. Dimension Data in control. No sign of Marcel Kittel just yet. There he is in the middle, just taking the corner. He's about 30 back.
He's got two teammates with him and one further forward. The look across the shoulder at the front for Dimension Data. It's Reinhard Jans van Rensburg who's setting the tempo at this point. It's no tempo, it's a blistering speed, 65 kilometres per hour.
Well, they've come off that dip down and it's all false flat down into town. Slight bend in the road, and as they come further into town, you'll see the barrier start. There's 2 kilometres to go. In a moment, you'll see the barriers right and left, and there's a definite bottleneck in the road. There's not as much room to move up and improve your position. Dimension Data take the front for Mark Cavendish. Lotto Soudal for Greipel right behind him. They're in control. They're performing to the letter.
But there's only 2 riders remaining for Mark Cavendish. Perhaps they're at the front a little bit too soon.
It's a very long last kilometre, but I would say better to be where Cavendish is than where Kittel is at the moment. Andre Greipel, he's behind with a couple of teammates, waiting on Jürgen Roelands to launch. Eisel trying to be in control as long as possible. There's Steve Cummings still to do a job. No, Stibar that is. He's looking for Kittel under the bridge, last corner.
It's Edvald Bosenhagen at the front, setting the tempo for Dimension Data. And now there's confusion as Cavendish has let the wheel go. And Zinedine Stibar is responding and going across. And there's been a big fall in the peloton. The yellow jersey has gone down. There'll be no time losses because it's inside the last 3 Ks. It's Bosenhagen, followed by Renshaw, then Stibar, followed by Seeberg, and then Greipel.
Well, Greipel is sitting in the box seat. Nasser Buhani is back there. Mark Cavendish nowhere to be seen. Mark Renshaw, he's going to go. Cavendish is not there. Renshaw sits back in the saddle. Stibar in second wheel. Roelands with Greipel, they straighten up, but there's still a lot of uphill to go. Greipel with Christoph in the wheel, then Buhani. Sagan trying to bash his way in.
At the head of affairs, it's Jürgen Roelands, followed by Andre Greipel with 500 metres to go.
Cavendish is there.
Alexander Christoph with all the pressure of the team chasing. Buhani is waiting patiently. Sagan fights his way into the slipstream. It's then the French national champion, followed by Cavendish. Christoph opens up. Demar is coming, so too is Greipel. Cavendish goes into the barriers. Demar fights on. It's Christoph with Demar, shoulder to shoulder. It's the French champion, who is the champion in Vittel, followed by Peter Sagan and then Alexander Christoph. And the damage is further back down the road.
There is a whole lot of damage down the road, but the winner, a favourite pick by many, Arnaud Demar, the first French bunch sprint winner since 2006, Jimmy Casper in Strasbourg. But drama down the road, and they're scattered on the road. Mark Cavendish still laying there.
John
Degenkolb as well. Cavendish gone down very heavily, hit one of the red guard pads, and he has hurt himself. Tried to squeeze through the gap next to Peter Sagan, came off balance. Sagan stayed up, tried to challenge Demar, came in for second. Greipel fading, but there's one word for this: carnage. A big crash out of that final corner at 1.3 kilometres to go. Another huge crash by Mark Cavendish, and several other riders coming down in that crash. But no doubt, Demar, the winner, the French champion, takes it out in Vittel.
But it wasn't just that crash. As we can see, the medics racing down to Mark Cavendish and John Degenkolb. There was a crash before that, and it was rubbing shoulders with Peter Sagan, and Cavendish went down so heavily. Ben Swift also over the top, and Degenkolb from Trek Segafredo. Horrible fall.
In the meantime, Demar, he doesn't even know or care what's going on behind. Looks down through the feet to see who's coming. Nobody, arms up. Sagan coming across. Christoph hanging in, I think, for third place. Greipel and Bouhanni in what's almost a hometown race for him. But it's all Arnaud Démare.
That was frenetic. The Katusha team, they'll be disappointed. Mark Cavendish, fingers crossed Mark's okay. He may well be out of the race, and of course with the illness that he had coming in, as we see the yellow jersey also fell. That was at around about 1 kilometre to go. Let's hope he's all right. Bernard Eisel is making his way across to see how the Manx missile is faring. There's Taylor Phinney sitting up. A day where he has survived all the drama.
Démare came from about 6th or 7th wheel. Mark Cavendish was tracking him. Démare got through the gap. Sagan wanted to follow the wheel. The gap closed. Mark Cavendish couldn't fit through it. And there's our result. Arnaud Démare in first. Peter Sagan takes second. Alexander Christoph for third. Greipel, Bouhanni, Adrien Petit in the absence of Coquard. Jürgen Roeland's the lead-out man of Lotto Soudal, taking 7th place. But what turned out, that's just horrible to watch when someone hits the barriers late. And the two riders behind straight over the top, Swift and Degenkolb. But Démare, he was already gone, started his sprint from behind all the other big favourites of the stage. Here's Cavendish on the right-hand side trying to follow Démare. Sagan wants to get that slipstream. Elbow comes out from Peter Sagan to protect his position.
It wasn't an aggressive elbow. It was a stay upright elbow, I think, from Peter Sagan.
I think it had already happened before the elbow came out.
Two national champions together.
That's Konovalovas.
There won't be mineral water tonight. There'll be a little bit of champagne.
There'll be champagne in Vittel. There's Cavendish crossing the line, holding his right arm, so an injury to that right shoulder. He hit the right barriers. So he's been able to get up under his own steam, cross the line, which is important. He's able to start tomorrow if he can.
Mark Cavendish, first of all, what did the medical checks show yesterday, and how are you feeling?
Yeah, it showed a broken shoulder blade. I feel all right. I'm in a bit of pain. I didn't sleep great last night, but that's expected. But yeah, honestly, it's better than being ill, if I'm honest. Obviously, I'd like to be continuing the Tour de France, but I'm in better spirits now than I was a few months ago. So,
how long will you be out for? You know?
Normally, this takes 6 weeks to recover. Hopefully less. I can get on my bike soon. I can be on the turbo trainer for most of that, so at least I can be riding my bike, which is the main thing.
I remember you said yesterday you wanted to talk to Peter face to face. You've talked to him since yesterday?
Yeah, he called me last night. I didn't get in from the hospital till gone 11 o'clock. I had a message from him. I said, "Oh, you're still up?" And he gave me a call and we spoke about everything. So like I said, we have a good relationship. We're friends and colleagues, and we have a massive respect for each other, you know. And I think there's nothing, no personal feelings at all there, really.
Was he devastated to be out?
We didn't talk about him being out. He was asking how I was, really.
What's your take on the commissaire's decision to throw him out of the race?
The commissaires are there for a reason, to make the calls. I think it takes big balls to throw a world champion out the Tour de France, you know, but that's only from backlash from opinion. It's not from, ideally what the rules are. Like I said, it's easy to form an opinion, but the world isn't based on forming an opinion. It's ran on a set of governing rules, and if social media ran cycling, then we may as well all go home and Peter just races on his own, I think, you know. I think that's why the jury are there, to make decisions like that. I'm just happy nobody else was seriously hurt.
First of all, hello everybody, thank you to come here. Sorry I didn't do some report yesterday or something, but I think it was not good time. And today, what I can do. I can just accept the decision of the jury, but for sure I am not agree with them because I think I didn't do something wrong in the sprint. What is very bad that Mark fell down, and that is important if he can recover well. I'm sorry for that, but it was how you see already also on the internet. It was crazy sprint. He's not the first one like that, and he's not last one like that. And so I wish to Mark recovery well, and that's it.